Hello and welcome to Tabletop Odyssey. My name is Jay, and today we're going to go a little bit old school. I'm going to try and get back into doing these a little bit because I find them enjoyable. We're going to be looking at the Shoretroopers and a little bit of the Dewbacks, and we're just going to look at like basic builds kind of thing, what you might expect from them. I didn't do this for a lot of stuff that's come out in the past, but as I said, I want to get back into them, and we did discuss the sort of triple tauntaun list. As this is sort of the counter release to that, I thought it made sense to come on and discuss it. So if at the end of this video you like, press like, and if you're not subscribed or interested in Star Wars Legion, please subscribe. That really does help. And yeah, we're just going to look at Shoretroopers, look at Dewbacks, look at the list that you might find them in. Well, mainly Shoretroopers. I'm not 100% convinced on the Dewbacks. Maybe you guys can prove me wrong here. So first and foremost, Shoretroopers. They're coming out, I think, next week, this week, soon, whatever you want to call it. The Dewbacks have been delayed to, we think, the end of September due to the Dewbackle base size thing. Shoretroopers as a whole, though, you can see 52 points. They are sort of like more elite core troopers, if you want to put it that way, because they've got they've got the best save that the troopers have, the red defense dice. Still don't surge on the defense dice. And you might be like, oh, well, they don't surge on the offensive like they used to. Well, they don't, but the black dice means that instead of it being a 2 in 8, it's now a 3 in 8. So the generic offensive power is now better, I guess. And so the coordinated emplacement trooper, that's going to become relevant here. I have to say, I don't think I personally would take these Shoretroopers without taking the emplacement troopers, because essentially in that case you would be paying points for a keyword that you wouldn't use. So I do feel like you probably want to take the emplacement trooper that goes along with this, and we'll obviously show those in a moment. It does have target 1, so when you are issued an order you get an aim token. That could be pretty strong considering the amount of white dice you might be pumping out here. So yes, that could be a very important keyword. Everything else is standard: 1 health, 1 courage, that kind of thing. And for the weapon upgrades, well, you only get one choice here, which I'm pretty sure I would almost always take because I really like it. They're normally range 1 to 3, the troopers. This guy though, the T21B trooper, he is range 1 to 4, 2 black, 2 white dice, and importantly, critical 1. So critical allows you to convert one of your surges to a crit. Now that's good when you don't have surges. If you already surge to a hit, I find that a little bit like, it's not redundant, but it's less powerful, less bang for your buck, I guess. So yes, I think I would almost certainly take that trooper. I think it's nice to have the range 4 shot, and that's a pretty strong range 4 shot coming out of that. And even if you just took that, you would have 6 black dice and 2 white dice, possibly getting an aim token if you got it from the by having an order, so you'd be able to move and shoot quite easily. So then we'll look at the mortar, right? You can ignore the other trooper there. I don't know why he's on there. Let's get on that actually. So the mortar trooper, to take this, you have to have taken a unit of Shoretroopers. That's what the detachment keyword means. And to deploy them, what actually happens here, you must deploy your Shoretroopers first, and then one mortar or one detachment has to deploy within a speed 1 move away from that unit. Now, the key thing there is it doesn't have to be in your deployment zone, so you can actually deploy a little bit further with these mortar teams. It's actually quite useful, and that's one reason we'll look at possibly recon intel on the Shoretroopers. Fire support, though, is one of the main reasons to take this. There is a plus side and a downside to fire support, obviously, and we'll talk about that in a second as well. So fire support, if, let's say, the unit of Shoretroopers has got an order, although it actually is just when another friendly unit, so it doesn't have to be the Shoretroopers, so if you find a better shot, keep that in mind. But let's say the unit of Shoretroopers is shooting, and this mortar team, this mortar trooper has got a order token, he can now add his one of his shots into that attack pool. So in this case, if it was, let's say, range 3 to 4, and the Shoretroopers were shooting, they could, in theory, shoot with the 4 black dice from the standard guy, this guy as well, so 6 black dice, 2 white. But then if this is in range, you could then add on 3 white dice, and now you get the keywords, so you get the critical 1, so it becomes critical 2. It's cumbersome, so you keep in mind you can't move and shoot it. Suppressive though, so you'll be pumping out 2 suppression, so you can basically add your attack into one shot that and make it a powerful attack. Now there's downsides to that. Obviously the plus side is that you're not going to be affected by cover twice. You'll get affected by the cover in the one shot instead of by the cover in both shots, so you're more likely to actually pump through the damage. The downside is that you're going to be down activations on that turn, so you've got to keep that in mind whether or not it's important that you go first or second, or you want to have somebody who goes last, like a Luke, but obviously this isn't the right faction, but you know what I mean. Maybe you want to, if you want to last first somebody and your activations are important, then maybe using the fire support might not be worth it. So a full pivot, so if you do move, you get to pivot first, reposition, yeah, fine. And so you get to do it at the end. And Sentinel, so you get standby range 1 to 3 if you do want to pump that out. So it's important here that you'll notice that the mortar team is actually 3 to 4, range 3 to 4. So weirdly in this unit, yeah, if you've got the Shoretrooper with this trooper, you've got a decent range 4 shot, 2 black, 5 white. Fine. If you were shooting from the Shoretroopers and you added in your dice, fine. But what really you get the most effectiveness at being range 3, so above 2 but less than 4, because then all of the Shoretroopers can fire and the mortar team could add its dice. You're then at like 10 dice, possibly with the aim tokens. You're looking pretty sweet. So really you want to be range 3 is sort of the point you want to be at if you're going to be using these guys. And because I wouldn't take the Shoretroopers without taking the mortar troopers, no matter what, you're probably never going to want more than 3 of these units. And I think maybe 2 might be the sweet spot, but you could maybe, I'd have to play it to see if 3 makes sense. 1 I'm a little bit iffy on, but the downside to these is they're obviously more expensive. They are the more elite units. So if you're taking elites, well then you think, oh, I'll throw in a med droid, because if you're keeping med droids around, you get more value for your heals if you're healing Death Troopers, Shoretroopers, snipers, that kind of thing, than say cheap Stormtroopers. So med droid makes sense. Recon Intel makes sense because, as I said, because of the deployment, if you deploy your Shoretroopers a bit further, then you get a speed 1 beyond that for your deployment of your mortar troopers. You can be in quite aggressive places on the board quite quickly with Recon Intel and the detachment rule. So just keep that in mind. And then you might also see on the actual mortar troopers, you might see comms relay, because when you give your Shoretroopers an order, because they have coordinate, they then give an order to a detachment, an emplacement trooper, which in this case will be your detachment. So then you've got an order on your Shoretroopers. You could have an order on the mortar troopers, but let's say you need to get one a little bit extended out over there to Bosk or somebody. Comms relay could really come in handy if you don't need that fire support that turn, but you need to keep Bosk or get Bosk out of harm's way, something like that. So comms relay for 5 points. Maybe not have it on every unit, but if you want it, it's there. So that's personally, the problem with that is it's 146 points. And if you start taking things out, you might start lowering the efficiency of the unit. If you reduce the medical droid, well, now you've got more points that might die a little bit more easily. Do you know what I mean? So it is a lot of points, but it is 2 units. So really, what would 2 DLTs have been? 68 and 68 would be 120 plus 16, so 138. So it's cheaper. It's just, well, not cheaper, but the 2 DLTs are cheaper, but only by like 8 points. Meh. It's not too bad. You decide, it's up to your playstyle, whatever you want. Now, for the Dewback, I'm not really rating. I'm not going to spend too long on the Dewbacks because I'm not really rating them, if I'm honest. It's weird because I think Tauntauns are great, but I think Dewbacks are just a little bit expensive for what they do. Yes, they've got armor 1, the 90 points for this one guy, you get 6 health, 2 courage, you surge to a hit. On the melee attack is pretty good, don't get me wrong, that's a really strong melee attack, but I can't help but feel like I'd just rather have a decent character, but that's me. Relentless does mean you'll be able to move and shoot or move and attack if you charge, reposition, so you can actually get in and do some damage. Spur means that instead of just being speed 1, you'll be able to take a suppression to increase it to speed 2, so you'll be able to do a speed 2. Unhindered means you're going to ignore difficult terrain. And when it comes to these weapons that you can take, this one for 4 white dice at range 3, you get critical, but you already surge to a hit, so it does mean you would ignore cover if you're on the surges, but I'm just not really rating it. Like, you'd be spending 100 points for 4 white dice and then the charge. I can't see this being the best thing. I can imagine it being pretty fun, and if you're going to look for fun though, I wouldn't take this guy, this range 4 weapon. What I would actually be looking at would be taking the flame rifle, which is just a case of pop on spur and charge in, and if you're going to do that, because you're going to get, if you attack a unit with 5 models in it, you're going to get 10 dice. You know, it's going to be pretty nice. You're going to surge to a hit, ignoring cover. And if you are going to do that and you want to get in, it does mean you're going to take the suppression because of spur, which means you're probably going to want endurance, because that's going to just keep your suppression down instead of just constantly adding them up. So, but I'm not really rating Dewbacks personally, but I can see why people would be. And this is just an example list. It's very similar to what I saw in the Invader League last night, the Team League. But, you know, you can change it, tweak it, whatever you want. A lot of people are rocking Krennic and Death Troopers. Great combo. Krennic with strict orders. I do really like aggressive tactics. Perhaps when that comes out, because just getting surge tokens around on the board for 10 points. Yeah, pretty cool. Strict orders, Krennic, Boss with, I mean, Hunter's alright, Stims is alright. I like Stims on Boss personally. I'm not really sure if that's common, just because, I mean, if he does die, you can probably heal him back to safety, so it could become very pivotal. And, I mean, I've got 2 Shoretroopers that I spoke about, both with the T21B Trooper, the medical droids, the recon intels, and then I've gone with 2 troopers with comms relay just because I was short I had points to spare. And then I've got unit Death Troopers in here. You could take extra kinds of stuff if you wanted. In fact, I don't know why I would obviously take one of this weapon. I don't know why I didn't put that in the first time. I just quickly made this for the video, so don't hate me if I missed anything obvious. And 2 snipers. You could have all of that very easily. How many activations is that? That is 10 activations, so you're pretty standard there, not too high, not too low. Just keep in mind, if you do use that fire support rule, your activation will shrink that turn, but you still have it for deployment, you just don't have it for anything else. So that's the way I personally see them going. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think I'm completely wrong about Dewbacks? I'm just not a huge fan of them in the game. I think they'll be fun to paint and fun to play as, but I don't think like they're going to be super competitive. The Shoretroopers are a bit strange. They're unusual. I haven't really looked too much into the Rebel version of them, just because the Tauntauns list seems a bit better. If it starts becoming more prevalent when I go to vet events and stuff like that, then I will talk about it. But yeah, I just wanted to make one of these videos. Hopefully you found it somewhat either interesting, informative, or I don't know, just pass the time, did it? Do like and subscribe if you found it any kind of useful and you're interested in Star Wars Legion. I do wish you yourself, though, a most beautiful day. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.